My name is Caitlin. Today I want to tell you my story about how I swapped parents with my best friend. Yeah, you heard it right. Swapped parents. This event turned my life upside down, so I want to share it with you. I was born in a very wealthy family. My parents have been running a big business for 20 years, due to which our family tops the list of the richest people of our city. Despite this, I study in a regular public school. You may ask why I have not become arrogant, because my parents are rich and influential people. This is very simple. Since childhood, my mom and dad taught me to achieve everything on my own. When they were young, they used to be simple waiters, which taught them to value life and never make fun of less wealthy people. This is actually the reason why I communicate with ordinary people from average families. My best friend Sandra, with whom I've been with all my life, from birth to the present day, also belongs to such a family. Sandra was born on the same day as me. It's so funny. We're best friends, celebrating our birthday at the same time. And I'm not kidding, because Sandra was actually born just 10 minutes later than me. We're like twin sisters born to different mothers. Since childhood, Sandra and I have been as thick as thieves. We used to spend a lot of time visiting each other, thanks to which even our parents soon became friends as well. They were really surprised to learn that Sandra and I were born at almost the same time. Her parents worked as ordinary school teachers all their lives. I know that Sandra often envied me because every summer, my mom, dad, and I went to hot countries for vacation, while she had to spend time alone in her house or at our local lake. Many people may think that I liked this envy. Not at all. I didn't want Sandra to feel different from me. After all, we were best friends who were always ready to help each other. That is why, knowing how much Sandra wanted to fly somewhere on vacation, I persuaded my parents to take her with me the next summer. Those were the best holidays of my life. We were swimming, looking at sightseeing places, walking in the most beautiful spots, and spending almost all the time, except nights, together. But then we returned home, and something happened that absolutely no one had expected. My parents got a letter. They often received something related to work, but for some reason, this particular letter shocked them. Dad and Mom were reading the letter, frowning and exchanging glances with each other. After that, they handed the letter to me in silence. The sender was Jonathan Brooke, a physician at our local hospital. He informed me about a recent check of the archive during which it was found that on the day when I was born, 2 babies were confused in the hospital. And these babies were Sandra and me. At that moment, I felt as if I fell off a cliff because I realized that Mom and Dad were not my parents, and their daughter was my best friend, Sandra. My parents tried to comfort me, but I couldn't help it. Even the thought that my parents were not mine at all made tears just flow down my cheeks. That day, I locked myself in my room to calm down and think everything over. Then, for the first time in my life, I didn't want to call Sandra and discuss my problem. I wanted this secret to remain in our family, at least for a short time. The first thought that I had when I woke up was that I actually had to talk to Sandra and my parents. I started crying again, but I pulled myself together in time and went downstairs to the first floor of the house to discuss everything with Mom and Dad. I decided that I could still call them that then. I was really surprised by what I saw in the living room. Not only were my parents sitting on the couch, but also Sandra and her parents as well. Or my parents. I still haven't fully decided this. My biological parents smiled at me and greeted me in a somewhat forced manner. Sandra looked very pale. She didn't say a word. I decided to sit next to her to give support. It was the most difficult conversation of my life, in which it was decided that Sandra and I should change places for a while. The move went quickly. Sandra and I did not transport all our belongings, as our parents decided that all this was just an experiment, during which it would become clear how we would live further. I was hoping that my non-biological parents would change their minds and still take me back. When I came to visit Sandra, I did not notice the flaws of her house, but after moving there, I realized that living there was just awful. The hot water was often turned off in the bathroom, and this could happen at any time, usually when I was taking a shower. In addition, ants lived in the house. I noticed them before, but they didn't really bother me because I was just a temporary guest. At that moment, I lived in the space. Ants were crawling all over me at night and biting me. Also, they often climbed onto my food. Ugh. There was one thing that really pleased me. My new parents treated me very warmly. After 3 days of such hell, I couldn't stand it and was crying all night. The most painful thing was that Sandra hadn't even called me at all during these days. Of course, unlike me, she was enjoying her new life. The next day, I decided to go to my old house. I sincerely hoped that my former real parents had already changed their minds and this experiment would end soon. My native home welcomed me with joyful conversations. I heard my parents chatting with enthusiasm about something with Sandra in the kitchen. Without thinking twice, I decided to go there. And what I surely did not expect was seeing Sandra wearing my clothes. Besides Sandra in my garments, I saw the bewildered faces of my parents. They did not expect to see me at home. Mom smiled, stood up, and hugged me, but I still felt the tension emanating from her. But all this did not really matter. The most painful thing was Sandra, who was sitting in my place at the table, drinking from my cup and wearing my clothes. Also, she was not at all happy about the fact that I had arrived. I didn't recognize my best friend in her. We were drinking tea in awkward silence. And then I asked Sandra to go away together with me for a couple of minutes, saying that we needed to talk. Within the past few days, Sandra had become more confident. When I asked her what was going on, she replied that she was mad at me because she had lived for many years in poverty and I had lived in luxury that was intended for her. That was why Sandra didn't call me all these days and didn't ask how I felt. She was glad about what had happened and was angry with me because she saw the cause of what had occurred in me. But it's not my fault. The doctor who confused us in the maternity hospital is to blame for everything. This was all I was able to tell my best friend. Sandra didn't answer. She began to cry and ran to the room that was already hers while I, without thinking twice, turned around and went to my new home. In this whole situation, I was sad not so much because of the poor living conditions, but because I realized that my beloved mom and dad were not mine anymore. That day, I again cried for a long time at night, not understanding what awaited me next. But sooner or later, such an experiment had to come to an end. According to the law, our parents had no right to exchange children, so Sandra and I had to return to our homes. And I knew that Sandra did not want this. She already got used to the luxury that she had been deprived all of these years. That day, we met again on the threshold of my house. Sandra said nothing, which hurt me even more. A friendship that had lasted more than 10 years collapsed due to the fault of a doctor who had not taken care of the newborns properly. The next moment, something happened that I did not expect. Sandra came up to me and smiled. "I'm sorry," she said, after which my heart stopped for a moment. Sandra had apologized, so things were not as bad as I had thought. Sandra said that she really envied me all these years. But after a few days, she realized that being mad at me for what I was not guilty of was really stupid. I forgave Sandra. Thanks to this talk, it became much easier for me to accept the fact that Sandra and I were confused in the hospital. Just imagine. I was born 10 minutes later, but not she. On that day, we were chatting for a long time in my room, discussing what would happen next. Neither I nor Sandra understood what decision our parents would come to. And we had no idea that everything would be resolved very well for all of us. A month later, my foster father announced the good news, saying that my biological parents and Sandra were going to move in with us. Dad decided that the only suitable option in such a situation was to live together as one big and united family. According to the opinion of my foster parents, the best thing that they could do in that situation was just to unite our families. And Sandra's parents approved of this idea. Now Sandra and I have become even closer. We live in the same house, our parents are best friends, and we try not to recall those awful few days. After all, a mistake resulting from the negligence of a doctor could destroy a friendship that had lasted for many years. What would you do in our place? Would you stop talking or become even closer to your friend? Give your answers in the comments. If you liked the story, click on the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel.